because
That's my point, and ma'am, and that's my point. You ladies all feel like, listen, you ladies all feel like you're the exception to the rule. And then when someone like myself comes along and gives you a dose of reality, instead of just accepting it, it's like, yeah, but I'm special. You don't know any men on this level that are not your father, that aren't related to you. That means you don't know these men. You don't know where to go get them. You don't know what they want. But you're still saying, pick me. They don't want mid 30-year-old baby mamas. I'm trying to be polite, man, but they don't want those.
can I ask you a question?
Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Why is that so? Okay, go ahead.
Why is it so?
Go ahead.
Um, my from my point of view, I feel like I get what you're saying. They do have better options, but also those better options are younger girls. Those younger girls don't necessarily are necessarily 20-year-olds are not necessarily attracted to 45-year-olds.
Bullshit. I'm 51 and I can't beat them off with a stick. That's another one you lies. No, younger women are attracted to older men. What are you talking about?
So can you see me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So do you feel like a woman like me?
Uh-huh. What would
That's
you rank yourself on a scale from 1 to 10? You cannot use 7.
Would I rate myself?
Just your face.
My face when I wake up 5, but when I put myself together 6.
Okay. And how tall are you?
5'5".
Dress size.
I'm sorry.
Your dress size.
A 3.
Okay. So that makes you, if you give yourself a 5, that's average.
Yes.
So average looking women tend not to get high earning men. They tend to get average men.
So
Did you I mean, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. Breathe and digest. You're 35 years old and you can look around and see the world. You don't tend to see higher earning men with average looking women off rip. If you do see them, they got their average looking woman when they were both really young and he built his way up. But a man earning the kind of money you're talking about does not go for an average looking woman.
I mean, my body is not average. So
But
I
ma'am, you please don't make me say it.
say what? I really just wanted some advice. I love your
I'm
stuff.
giving you advice, but you're not taking it. The
I'm
advice is, ma'am, you're average looking at best.
I'm taking it in, but
Okay, but you're not accepting the fact that, okay, average looking women, average looking woman who's older, average looking older woman with a 13-year-old son, average looking woman with a 13-year-old son with a sketchy baby daddy. This gets worse every time I say something. And now you're asking for a man who's in the top 10% of men. You don't qualify for one. And you're making, I mean, I don't want to have to go there, but when you put in all these other factors, why can't you just get a man that's an average guy?
sometimes I feel like in order to fully submit, I have to feel like he's in
Well,
control.
then you're gonna die alone. How about that? Let me just cut to the chase, ma'am. You can feel like what you want to, but women like you die alone, straight up, because you think you're better than the men that you qualify for. And the only reason, honestly, ma'am, that I can see a woman like yourself really thinking you deserve more is because you earn more money than most people around you in North Carolina. But if your ass worked at the post office, you would not think so highly of your opportunities. And that's the reality. Men don't care about your money. Not the kind of men that you want. We don't care about your money. It ain't ours. We care about the fact that you are older and you got kids and you're average. And your reality of your life has showed you that. You don't have the kind of men that you want knocking on your door trying to find you. See, what we've done in this country, this world, is we've told women like yourself that you can have it all, and you got a Prince Charming who's 6 foot, 106 feet tall, 6-figure income, jawline, all this other kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, man. No. Most people get average people, especially average people. And you're an average person. I mean, let's be real. You're not running Microsoft. You got a pet grooming business. You've been making 6 figures for the last 3 years. Okay. But if I looked at you and I took all that off of you, all the eyelashes and all the hair, what do you look like under there?
I mean, I look the same. I'm just.
No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have all that on.
I can learn to understand
I'm
you
sorry?
much better if I can
No,
get
you
familiar
don't.
with the way you
You
talk.
don't look the
I
same
need
because
your
if you
permission
did,
to
you wouldn't
help.
have all that on.
So, what is your advice for
Okay.
women that?
All right, I'll tell you my advice, man, because you're not listening to me. This is why I always recommend you need therapy. People think most of us in the Black community need therapy, but you're not dealing with reality. I asked you about your child's father, and you couldn't answer me. But it doesn't sound like you're too proud of him.
Welcome back, guys. I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear what was played, but I'm sure, Kiana, you said you heard most of it. Dr. Blaylock, you said you listened to it in its entirety. The first question I have, and I'm curious about, or what stuck out to you, Kiana, when you first started listening or when you clicked on the video, what stuck out to you?
When I first started listening, I mean, I did notice how she appreciated him. She was very respectful. Like, okay, I listened to your show. I'm so impressed by you. I respect you so much in your opinion. So I noticed that she was very respectful in the beginning. His body language was really off. He didn't seem like he was really in the mood. And I don't know if it was just maybe, I don't know. I
So
don't
can
know
I
what it
answer
was.
that for you?
Yeah.
So what happened in the beginning is she called into the show, and apparently he runs some type of business consultation website where you can get a hold of him, pay him for his time, and he can consult you in some way relative to your business. That's what she was calling for originally. And
Okay, because I remember she said she had a pet grooming business.
yes, and that kind of like upset him like from the onset of the conversation. But he said, I'll indulge you, go ahead, what's going on, tell me what's going on. So right there, right from the gate, right? Most people didn't hear that part. So right from the gate, the tone for the conversation had already been set. So good. I just wanted to, address that issue because most people missed that part. And when you go off, the headlines and stuff, when you miss something, you miss kind of like the context, right? So you can go ahead and continue.
He was very dismissive from the beginning. He dismissed her business. He dismissed the fact that she even earned her way to getting that business. He dismissed everything about her, even after she gave him so many accolades and so much respect. So I was turned off immediately by his body language. Instantly, he was just like your average. You don't deserve that quality of a man. You're 35. You have a child. You're a baby mom. Nobody's looking for that.
Now,
How many
again,
of us are baby moms though?
yeah, let's give a little bit of context, because what happened was, that line of questioning was based off of him asking her what type of man that you wanted. And her response is that she wanted 6 figures or better. And he's trying to explain to her, and I thought he was respectful, right? But he was trying to explain to her that, hey, men in the income range that you want aren't looking for older women with kids, older kids, baby daddy drama, and that are average, right? So that part, to me, it's what kind of, I'm a firm believer in, you can't help who you love, right? But I can understand why. That's why it's hard for me to, have a definitive answer on how I feel about
As a
this
man,
whole
he
video.
was out of line.
In what way?
He was out of line as a man.
In what way?
We should always be mindful of what we say and how we deliver the message. It was another, he could have said whatever he wanted to say in another way, but we also have to be mindful that 6 figures isn't rich.
Yeah, and I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think he should be mindful in the respect that he is a businessman, right? And as a businessman, you have to be mindful in the way that you handle, approach, and talk to potential clientele, especially if you're putting something out there in the universe.
Yes.
Maybe
Is key.
maybe for him, it's not about, he's maybe moving away from his consultation business, and maybe he's moving into this new career, or I can't even say new. I don't know this guy's history. Maybe he's moving towards a career with, streaming content on YouTube, and that's how he'll pay his bills. I don't know. So in that manner, he the dismissive tone, and I honestly can't call it disrespect, but that's just, and again, it's just me personally, how I feel about it. And this is a safe space, okay? You are okay to feel and express however you feel and whatever it is that you express, okay? I'm not here to attack your opinion. I'm here to have a dialogue, an adult dialogue, and get some perspective, and we can all learn something from each other. But for me, I felt like he was extremely patient with her, in the sense that he explained to her exactly the type of guy that she was looking for isn't looking for that type of woman. I disagree with that. My thing is, I don't think those type of people run in those same type of circles, so it would be hard for them to meet. Is it possible? Yeah, you know what I mean? Can you help who you love? To an extent, yeah, but beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, right? So most people want to believe in this universal standard of beauty, that's not necessarily written in stone. Like, we've all seen that couple and be like, well, wow, maybe he's better looking, or maybe she's better looking, and you're trying to figure out how that happened. But at the end of the day, to me, it's about proximity. So I'm thinking that's kind of where my mind went when he said, those type of guys you're looking for aren't looking for you, because you don't run in those same type circles, right? So
let's remind ourselves that he also said, look at your face. So I was confused. Was the look at your face based on race? What was it based on? She's average face-wise?
Well,
she was professional. She was dressed professionally. Yes. She never disrespected him.
Yeah.
She constantly continued to reiterate, well, why do you feel like this? Why do you feel? Well, you're just average based on your face. Who's the judge of that? Why? Well, because she has darker skin, or what makes her average?
Well, she said she was average, right?
Unfortunately, she has lower self-esteem of herself.
And that's,
but let's remember, he also said 1 to 10 and don't go beyond 7.
Right. And that's what I was like, well, wait a minute. How the fuck can you tell somebody how to
he
feel
never
about
saw
themselves?
her as anything more.
And I didn't think the young lady was ugly at all.
No.
So for me, I didn't understand why she would even say about herself that she was a 5. And that's when the self-esteem issues that I thought kicked in. Because I'm like, yo, can't nobody dictate how I feel about me. I don't give a fuck what you think I am. If I think I'm a 10, I'm going to say it. You can dispute it. You can not believe it. You can say I'm something else, but that's just your opinion. I I think there's some issues going on with that because she then fell back on, yo, but I have a body. And it's like, well, wait a minute. What?
He didn't see her. He never saw her for her. Unfortunately, society
No, I
today
think
has
she
tried to force
doesn't
us to
see, and that's the
conform
problem I'm
to
having.
what
I
they
don't
want
think
us to conform to.
no. I don't think she sees her for her.
Because
Because my
society
issue
today
was
tries to force us to conform. Body image, looks, makeup,
no.
everything.
I
You're
think
only beautiful if you have this level of status.
okay. I can see where you going with that, and I get it, and I understand it. She self-proclaimed herself a 5, right? And then when she said, when I put it together, I'm a 6, but I have the body. So in her mind, if you put all that together, that's the mentality. Like, yo, this is who I am. This is what makes me a dime. And I think she not putting enough stock in her own self-esteem. Andre, I'm gonna ask you about this because I want to bring you in on the conversation because I feel like with the PhD, and I know it's not in psychology. How do you feel about that dialogue about her being, average at best, and those body image issues that we picked up on, and maybe her self-esteem?
Well, just because she said I'm a 5 or 6, she wasn't carrying herself like she had low self-esteem. Maybe the answer she said like from 1 to 10, he did kind of present and don't say, whatever.
Over a
So she
7.
kind of was working within the parameters that he gave. But here's what I'm looking at. The dude has a social media platform that he's been building for a few years. Not unlike Derek Jackson or anybody else that are out there. If you call his show, you know pretty much what you're gonna get. On my channel, sometimes I can be considered an a-hole sometimes because I have to be direct with some people depending upon how you do things. Not that I'm intentionally trying to be a butthole, but sometimes you have to be direct in the way that you deliver it. But people have come to know he's just going to be direct. If you don't like the answer, don't come to the channel because you know what you're going to get on this side. For her to say that she followed him, she likes his show, she knew that potentially she was going to be on the receiving end of that. I can admire the fact that he didn't get to her apparently because she didn't break down, she didn't cry, nothing about the way she was reacting towards the end had changed. Because once she got off the phone with Kevin, she's gonna call Tyrone, who's gonna tell her she's beautiful, she's fine, girl, I drink your bath water, because everybody has that. Women have the Tyrone to prop up their self-esteem. So I can't say that she had low self-esteem, but what this is an issue is, and it goes back to what you just said, it's something called assortative mating. And what assortative mating is, it says that we date those people who are more like us, who we're comfortable with. A lot of times in society, we look at it externally like, okay, well, this beautiful guy or girl is with this less attractive person visually. But what assortative mating says is you could be Vin Diesel or The Rock or Idris Elba, whatever you think, is attractive, and see that man with a Macy Gray and be like, well, she must be giving good head or the bomb sex to get a man like that. But assortative mating says on the inside, this man feels that that's what he qualifies for. Please don't think that Idris Elba does not want Beyonce. He just doesn't feel he can get Beyonce. So he goes where he's comfortable. So externally, it doesn't have much to do with it. I talk about that in my first book, What's Your Date On? It's really about self-expression. Now, to say that he was hard, he's talking about this in this area when you have 6-figure guys, like successful men who are tall, who are attractive, whatever. They play at a different level. We just don't want to admit that there's levels to this thing. LeBron James get hit by some of the most beautiful women, and there is a standard of beauty that most people can look at and be like, that's pretty. Halle Berry, she's pretty. Nicole's Murphy, Eddie Murphy's ex-wife, pretty. There's a standard that most people consider, okay, that's fine. At that level, it is in the eye of the beholder. But what he was kind of saying is, look, you're average at best because the women who are competing with you for those same men, they're going to come to the table without having to wear the weave. Their hair is going to look long and wavy and curly. They don't have to.
Yeah, but we're not talking about African American women, right?
No, we're talking about, well, we could say ethnic women. When we say African American, we're talking about ethnic women. It could be Latino women. It could be whatever. I'm talking about women of color. We're not talking about white women, women of color. And the only thing that separates a Brazilian woman, I guess, from an American woman is through slave trade. We just ended up on different islands and learned the different language.
But we have to be clear because they're not seeking out African American women once they reach a certain status.
I mean, at a certain status, it's like this. Sometimes it has everything to do with perception. And it has to do with like, okay, if you're going to play on the level of women that get athletes, those women aren't come to the table. I'm strong and I'm independent. No, they don't come to the table like that because
those women also are not from segregation and oppression.
I mean, I get it.
It's a little bit different from ours.
I'm not saying that it's right, but the truth of the matter is he's saying at that level, a woman is a man's status symbol and men are visual. On my page, I kind of put out today, there were 5 women, 5 men. The men had to rate themselves on the scale of attractive to least attractive. The men self-sorted themselves. And then after the men placed themselves in those positions, the women had to come in and rearrange them and vice versa. And it was amazing when the women assorted themselves just based upon personality and niceness and stuff. So number 1 and 2 that they considered the most desirable, when the men went in, they brought number 4 and 5 to the top spots because we don't look at things. I'm not saying that they were gorgeous or beautiful, whatever. We just don't look at it the same thing. My woman is my status symbol, especially at that particular age. I used to mess around in Hollywood and stuff like that, and swing is really big. You better not show up at an industry party with an average looking chick because you ain't gonna get no work done.
The average chick is the one that's taking care of the home and providing for the children and making sure that our husbands have food. We don't hire maids and we don't hire nannies. So,
but to a 6-figure dude, that doesn't. Kiana, but to a 6-figure dude, that don't matter. To a 6-figure dude, it don't matter if you cleaning the house and keeping it. I earn money. I can get that done. That does not matter to me.
However, plastic surgery shouldn't matter either, because that person that you feel like is of a status was not born looking the way that they look. We can use the Kardashians, for example. Multiple sports players have been with these women. We all know these women do not look the way that they were born. But if that's a man's quality, then you get whatever you get.
The thing about it, like, okay, if you start talking about it from a professional level, men and women, we look at each other like Democrats and Republicans. Right. Most women are going to judge men based upon their standard of how men should behave and how they should see them. We don't. It's food, financing, and the other F synonymous to sex. Those are the 3 criteria. It's kind of like if you don't affect one of those 3 F's in a major way, you don't matter that much. And when I get to that particular level, when you start looking at census data, the average man in the United States makes between $28,000 to $36,000 a year. Let me bump it up to $40,000. We've known for the last 15 years that most women have gone to school, they graduated from college more than black men, and they earn more. It's not hard to find a woman earning $100,000, $150,000. But when you start looking at, I want a man to match me, those men are not readily there. And a lot of women just don't want that average dude that's in their friend zone.
No.
They don't want that good man in the friend zone. They want what that sister was saying. I want the 6-figure earner because why? But he don't want you. That's the problem with having types. Not saying that the sister was ugly because she was not unattractive, but on the level she was trying to play on, she's going to have a hard time because the women on that level do not look like her. They don't look like her.
I mean, firemen make 6 figures, so 6 figures is not a lot.
It's not a
But I
whole lot
mean,
of
okay.
money, but comparatively speaking to what the average person makes in the United States, it is a big deal. That's why we keep saying 6 figures. Is it rich? No. But if you make $1,000 a week, if you take on that, you can have a lifestyle. So technically speaking, the person making $54,000 a year based upon where you live, you can still do some things with that money. So 6 figures is not necessary. But what I found in my practice is most women, the number for black women, I'm just say black women specifically, because that's who Mr. Kevin was addressing. The number for most black women is $60,000 to $65,000 a year before they hit that. I don't need that. I want one.
I was
I'm
a
good.
fireman, so I made a little bit more than that. And I did require my man, I mean, my ex-husband, he was on the same level, but I think when you ask for what you earned, it's because you want somebody that's on that same level.
I get it, but
like I want to feel like if I'm hustling, I really want my man to be hustling too.
But it doesn't take into consideration the numbers when you look at statistic census data. That's not what average men make. On average in the black community, black women are out earning black men. But we go to that same old school mindset. Well, a real man is supposed to blah blah blah. No, that's what grandma and grandma said. This ain't real life though. They were making more money comparatively speaking when you factor in inflation and stuff in the 1960s than we are in 2020 because of the cost of living and inflation. But it's like I think that's one of the problems. But there's nothing you can want what you want.
Yeah.
But can you keep it? But I think there needs to be a realistic value because when you look across the board at bless his heart, like Kobe Bryant and most of these guys' wives, if they stay with an average looking chick that most people will consider average, it's because she was there before he made it. And he decided to stay there to be loyal.
LeBron James, great example.
But if LeBron
that was
was
a
single
statement that he
NBA
made
before
in
he
the,
got
in, the,
there,
in the video. He said they met young and they stayed together. So in that sense,
right.
yes, it makes sense. So Kiana, I'm sorry to cut you off, Doc, but I wanted to ask a question, and I didn't want to forget because I'm going to ask this of both of you guys. I'm not going to ask how much you guys make now, right? But Kiana, you did say when you were a firefighter, you required, I guess, that he either matches you or make more. Is that a good assumption?
Well, I mean, fortunately, I was married, so
okay.
My husband was also a fireman. But we knew growing up we wanted to be of a certain status and provide a certain lifestyle for our children. Struggling was not an option.
Right.
So we did what we needed to do to be at the level that we was on.
Okay, so question now, right? Do you require that same thing out of your mate now?
I require, my mentality is I want everything that I'm supposed to have that I know God has planned for me. So for someone to want less, I would not be interested in it. I don't want to.
So just
take care of a man.
For argument's sake,
I don't want to struggle.
No, I get it. But for argument's sake, you meet a gentleman and, you guys have X, Y, Z in common, but you get to the point where it's like, all right, well, what do you do? What do you make? And he's not making that same kind of money you're making. Maybe like Doc said, the average, African-American male, maybe he's making 35, 40,000 and you're currently at 100,000. Are you not interested in that man anymore and you're moving on to continue the search for somebody who's on your level, or are you giving him a shot? Because in the video, she did say a couple times in the beginning of the video that, sometimes when I date down, right? So when she says she date down, she's still exclusively dating black men. So the stigma attached to that, if I wasn't making 40,000, right, and I wanted to date this woman, you know what I mean, and regardless of the circumstances matter how we met. But let's just say for argument's sake, we met in an untraditional way, getting to know each other's finances wasn't a priority in that moment, and we somehow hit it off. So at that point that you find out that man isn't making as much money as you, do you then turn to him and say, yo, this isn't for me, I need something better?
Well, typically, if I'm dating someone, I ask them in the first few days, the first date, the first phone call, what is your future plans? What's your career goals? I'm not looking for anybody with a job. You need a career, pension, benefits, that kind of thing.
So let me ask you, would you ever consider dating down in the traditional sense?
No, no.
Okay. All right, Dr. Blaylock. You just said you run around in, LA, maybe the Hollywood Hills and that sort of thing. My question to you is, are you looking for that trophy? And now, you did say you're in a relationship, so I don't want to get you in any trouble or anything. And I don't know how, your significant other looks right now. I don't know. But my question is to you is, do you feel like you're dating on quote unquote your level or higher? And would you consider dating down based off the conversation that we heard in the video?
Yes, because as can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as a high six-figure earner, what she made was not that important. Now we can look at younger me and we can look at the version I am right now. The money component, most of the women that I date are moneyed women anyway. I mean, they're money. The last woman that I dated, I mean, she wanted to see me, she could send her plane to get me. You know what I mean? So
Hold
all
the
of this
fuck
stuff is
up.
relative.
Where the applause at for that? Jesus
All
Christ.
of this
This
stuff
nigga
is
said
relative
she could send a
because
plane to come get me.
the women who make $100,000 a year, I have some of my clients that make 200, 300, 400,000 a year, and they're still single. They're still single. But for me personally, that doesn't matter. Whenever you have a stigma on somebody that they have to come to the table, which is with as much as you're going to miss them. If the person is responsible, if they're paying their bills, if they're living their life and they don't need me to support them as far as like take care of them, that's valid. I know this about men, and you may or may not agree, but most men do not emotionally mature until about the age of 43. Now,
Shit,
most
I
men will
can
say, I'm
agree
a
with
grown
that.
ass man. I'm a grown ass man. But a lot of women feel that they're dating with little boys and they date men in their 20s, 30s, and maybe even 40, 41. Like, gosh, when y'all gonna grow up? We don't emotionally get it until the age of 43. So when you start looking at stuff like that, maybe then a certain thing can change about you. But as a six-figure guy, what she made was not very important because it's like, what can you do for me that I can't do for myself? Unless something happened to me, I need to be able to call my chick and be like, yo, baby, I'm behind. Can I borrow $2,000 or $3,000? Like, yeah, baby, I got you. I like being in that arena, but that doesn't mean that I won't date anyone that doesn't have it. I just think financially responsible women. They don't have to make as much money as I do, but they're financially and fiscally responsible. That's cool. I can move forward with that.
So he
And I
did.
understand what you're saying. I think when it comes to women, men just have so many other issues with them that we do focus on finances and what you can bring to the table, because there are a lot of other issues that come with men that do not come with women. Fidelity, honesty, those type of
I
things.
mean, but see,
No, I don't
hold
think
on,
that's
Shannon, let me jump in this for a
predominantly.
minute. When it comes
Go
to
ahead.
fidelity,
Go ahead.
people cheat for the same reason. We cheat because we're selfish. But there's difference. It's not all about sex. Sometimes if I'm with you,
Yeah, but you're gonna be selfish. Make these bills. Be able to make these bills.
yeah,
So
but
it's
I'm saying
okay to cheat, just
as
pay
a
the
six
bills.
figure guy.
No,
as a,
it's not okay to cheat. But
Okay.
if you gonna be broke and cheat, we don't want that.
yeah, I got you. And
Pay some bills and cover your part.
that's
If
the
you're
key.
gonna cheat, pay these bills.
Well, a lot of that has to do with the way people date too. So it's like a lot of that stuff can be figured out. It's like if you end up in a relationship, a straight up relationship with a broke dude or broke chick, your selector is off. You see what I'm saying? You just got effed up selection rate off. You know what I'm saying? So he ain't paying bills, and you got to know this. This is real game. Like, why the teacher guys sometimes will date women with money, or they might have $500 or $1,000 on their credit card. When they first meet you, they will wine and dine you and treat you like this. And they might say, baby, I'm working on something. I need a little money. You give them a little money, they give it back. And then once your emotions get kicked in, then they don't open up the purse strings. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but that's you. Because while we're single, there's so much to be done as far as information is concerned. This is a totally different conversation, but it's important to state it because we don't know how to date as Black people. We mate. We kind of go into a situation with the future in mind, and you might not make it to the end of the day. So it's not allowing you to see you, Kiana, for who you are, because I got this checklist on what needs to be in the future. And you said something like, I want what God has for me, blah, blah. You don't know definitively what that is. You can think, hope,
Well, we
wish,
all
and
know
pray.
that God has huge plans for us all. It's just
I can understand that,
your work ethic is, and if you're
but
willing to
there's a
go
certain
get
thing called like potential and unrealized potential. You can have plans, but if you don't walk the steps in order to make those plans a reality,
exactly.
the whole free will composition or argument kills that. He can have all the plans he will, but if you're not disciplined enough to do what you need to do, you will go to the grave unrealized.
Of
You
course,
know?
of course. Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I have a bunch of standards beyond finances, but
I mean, I feel you.
I think when you know what you bring to the table, settling for anything is nonsense. It
Yeah,
makes no sense. You're wasting your time, and we don't all have a lot of time.
yeah, I guess. And so Shannon, I guess you got something else to say, to add to it, because it's a very sensitive subject because often in life we don't get what we deserve because some of us deserve to be smacked and pushed down the step. We get what we negotiate. A lot of us are not good negotiators. We say, I deserve this, I deserve. That's who. How arrogant are you to say you deserve this? If you want to remain single, you can have that long list as long as you want it to be. But the moment you decide to be in a relationship with me, that list has to shrink, if
Exactly.
not be put to the side. And you can demand respect, whatever that means to you. I'm not going to talk to you any kind of way, whatever. But all this, I have to earn this. I have to pull out the chair for you. A lot of that stuff has to be negotiated.
Of course. I think it has to be an even playing field. Everybody needs to talk about the important topics in the beginning before the relationship even goes to any other step.
So-
I think I typically put my concerns out in the beginning. I don't ask for anybody to make any certain amount of money. I just want everybody to be anybody I date to be go getters and to know that you can it's not where you from. And you can get anything. You really just have to want it and work for it. Nobody gets anything easily. So I mean, if you want to sit around and sit in this stagnant position and make the same amount of money for the rest of your life, it makes sense for you. It just don't make sense for me.
Okay, so Doc, you had touched on something, but before I get to that, I kind of want to wrap up that whole, you know what I mean, your average looking at best, you're going to die alone conversation, because it's for me, I still don't think, I definitively feel one way or another. But Kiana, you had made a point about protecting our women, and I wanted you to kind of like express those thoughts live on the show because I felt like it was important. It gave me a different perspective on how I saw this whole video. It didn't necessarily change my mind about, going back and forth about who's right, who's wrong. I've decided that, the lessons I'll take away from it, I'll apply to my life, because at that point, I don't want to argue anymore about who's right, who's wrong. I just think it's important that, number one, we all understand what it is that we want. And I don't think any of us can understand what it is that we want until we understand who we are and we do the work to understand who we are and then love ourselves. And then, and only then, you can go out there and kind of seek out what you're looking for. But I'm a firm believer in, you get what you attract, right? Or you put out, or whatever it is you putting out there is what you attract. So if you exude the confidence of a 6-figure saver, it doesn't matter to me. Again, at that point, I think it's about proximity. But I think first we all must understand that there's no way, there's no cheat code for life. There's no cheat code for love. You have to do the work. It's just that simple, right? But I wanted you to talk about that angle you talked about, and I wanted to touch on that because I wanted Doc to hear it and see, get his thoughts, and I wanted to give my thoughts as well before we move on to the next topic.
Okay, so Shannon and Andre, I just feel like, as a black woman and as him being a black man, your sole job is protection. Your job as men is to protect women, to respect them, because at the end of the day, we all came from a woman. Tupac said that best. So the way that he approached her, the way that he treated her was very disrespectful for a black man. And we're sitting in times when racism is at its all-time high. Black women are not being paid equally. We are not being treated equally. We are being disrespected and told to change our bodies to conform to what everyone wants. So who does that apply to? And when we speak, and as I said before, is when we speak of Black Lives Matter, do we really stand for that? How can we stand for that when our very black men who are murdered by police officers, which is modern day lynching, are coming for us? So, do we protect our men and no one protects us? How does that go? Because I'm just confused as to the level of acceptance of disrespect to Black women that has become, unfortunately, the norm in today's society. So, if we're not protected by our men and we're not protected by the government, we're not protected anywhere. So, what are we doing anymore as Black people? I mean, what are we really doing? When a man can sit back and allow another man to disrespect, to beat. I mean, we remember Megan Thee Stallion's situation, and she was hit on by a man. It has become the norm for Black women to be assaulted, to be disrespected regularly. And I don't remember the last time I seen a Black man stand up and say, hey, you know what? We're not accepting that. This is my queen. My mother is Black. I respect her and she created me. When does that come into play? It's like today, it's like Black women are non existent. Our voice doesn't matter. We don't matter, but we are the ones who carry our children and we raise them. So when do we get that respect from Black men? And that's for both you guys.
Um, Me personally, I feel like, and again, one of the very first shows I did was it was a symposium on how do we protect our women in our community. If you want to check it out, it's on my website, thebepodcast.com. Um, have I done the best job of protecting our women? I'm going to say no, but I don't think Black women get blanket immunity either. Um, you got to understand, I was born and raised in Philadelphia, West Philadelphia. Don't start singing the song, please. um, I was born in a place called The Bottom. Um, it was called The Bottom for a reason. Um, and I'll say this: I have multiple businesses. None of them function. None of them succeed. None of them win. None of them thrive without Black women. And I've said that damn near every podcast. So I appreciate our women. But Black women have to understand that it's not blanket immunity. You have to give us something to protect. You have to give us something to respect. A lot of the tendencies that I tend to see in other relationships, or that I have a front row seat to, or a window to, or I'm looking through a peephole, or just am able to witness, is just the respect isn't there, right? Dr. Blaylock had made it a point to say that statistically, Black women are making more than Black men, and you could see it because a lot of times, we are going to jail early, we're losing. We're getting that scarlet letter, so it limits some of our possibilities. Black men, you don't get an excuse for that. You made choices, you have to deal with them. You know what I mean? So they don't get an excuse for that. But at the same time, those stigmas that are attached to, most black women are frankly true. You know what I mean? And
not to cut
to
you off,
me,
Shannon, because I understand what you're saying, because I've heard this
no,
from
no, no,
many
but just
black
let me finish.
before.
But just let me finish.
Okay.
And for me, a lot of those stigmas are what make black women work, are what make these movements work, that make these engines to these companies, marches, protests, companies, NASA, like law firm, any place on the planet where black women are present and have a voice progresses that whatever situation forward. Because of some of those attributes of sometimes not taking no for an answer, sometimes being loud and demanding respect or demanding excellence from it. And again, I'm not saying that there aren't fallacies in that behavior, but what I am saying is black women shouldn't get blanket immunity for some of the behaviors and the stigmas and then still expect that level of respect blanket from African American or black men. Men have to do a better job of giving them something to respect as well. We can't go to jail for nonsense. We can't blame the man for our failures to thrive, and whatever the case may be. Knowledge is the key to everything. They always say if you want to hide something from it, put it in a book, right? And that's true. Like I'm learning things now because I'm maturing. You know what I mean? I'm approaching 43, but I'm maturing light years ahead of what I used to, or what I feel like where I feel like I was, a few months ago. So for me, I've always been on the quest for knowledge. But what's important is that we have the opportunity to have these type of dialogues so that we can understand each other a little bit better. Because I've been in, friendships, I've been in relationships where all those stigmas were true and it was a turnoff, right? I've been in business meetings and situations where, on the organizational side, where that type of attitude was just like respected and applauded because it got shit done. It lit fires under asses and people started moving and shaking. Like, so for me, I understand it, but it's just not a blanket thing. I don't like that you said that, when are we going to start to protect our women? I feel like we both have work to do on both sides. Like, we can protect better when we have more to protect. Hold us accountable. You see that shit, call it. Like, right there. Don't wait. Don't let it slide. Don't see if it's going to happen again.
When you do that, now you're called an angry black woman.
Yeah, I love angry black women. So what? So what?
You just said you didn't.
So no, what I'm saying is they can't expect blanket immunity for some of the stuff. I'll say this: there's a time and a place for everything. There's a time when those attributes work. There are times when they don't work. You have to understand when to pick and choose those times to be those specific ways. So it's more advantageous to push the culture and the family and whatever unit forward, not just, your own agenda. So that's kind of where I am with it, Doc.
What families? Because honestly, majority of black women are upset because they're single parents and they're raising children alone because those fathers have left.
Now I
for
see
whatever
that, but
reason.
that's not my experience.
Families exist anymore.
That's another thing. That's not my experience. A lot of my friends are in their kids' lives living in households together with the
But there are many that are not. And
I agree. But at that point, you start to talk about systemic reasons why they aren't together. Because if we're going to talk about it, let's all the way talk about it, right? So we go out there feeling like the only way we know how to provide is do something stupid, sell drugs, guns, whatever, right? So we go to jail, right? And on top of that, in specific periods of time, and the shit becomes systemic and generational, where welfare became the only job or option, some of our parents had. And what happens? Like, yo, you can have this low income housing, your rent can be $5, but guess what? Guess who can't be there? Guess who can't
But we
be
also
there?
have to be mindful is the percentage of Caucasians on public assistance is a little higher than African Americans
Yeah, and
today.
There's, I
I
believe
just
that
always want to be
wholeheartedly.
mindful. When everybody
I
try to throw
believe
that black woman under the bus, I'm
I
gonna come
believe
right
that,
back.
but it's not about throwing her under the bus. It's about the generational mentality of poverty.
Generationally, black women are angry because of the things that they've been through at the hands of black men.
Right.
So we can, we can
who are
multiple
these
times
black men?
sit down with
Who
a
are
panel
picking
of
these
black
black
women,
men? Who are
and we
picking these
can
black
find
men?
out that that's actually the truth.
Listen, you're not going to hear me disagree with that. My problem is it becomes a systemic thing. All right, we're not even going to talk about the prison industrial system. We're not going to talk about that. Let's talk about the fundamental practice of picking an adequate mate. Right, the type of men black women normally go for. Do what? What's their lifestyle? Ain't nobody looking for Poindexter, black, Puerto Rican, or not.
Yeah.
Why?
Unfortunately,
because in our community, education isn't cool until you 40. And you realize, and women realize, well, goddamn it, Poindexter is the one that had the future.
But then we can't say that because history has shown we were not given equal rights to education as everyone else, other cultures.
It's not about
T14 schools. T14 schools wasn't allowed to us.
Look,
that wasn't allowed to us until Stokely Carmichael in 1964 set out there and said, we will not accept this anymore. Somebody had to stand for us to be educated, because let's remember there was not a time when educated black people was acceptable. We were not accepted in the schools that everyone else was accepted in. The academics was different. So systemically, we was held back.
Okay, and you won't hear me disagree with that either. When you hear me speak, I'm speaking specifically from my personal experience, right? I feel like every time I get on this mic, I'm the sum total of my experiences and what I see in my proximity, right?
Of course.
I grew up where I grew up. I didn't see many examples of, a person like me having opportunities with specific women in the neighborhood, because for me, it was about sports and education, right? Fuck, it didn't really matter because, I did specific things to attract the attention of women. All men do. But my point is, because of my mom's generation, Mom, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, I love you, but there's a certain gap because my dad wasn't around. So I never understood how to, treat a woman until I saw examples and learned on my own and understood who I was and what I wanted to be and the type of man I wanted to be to a woman. Now we talking about the type of women that are consistently left to be single parents. What's the problem there? Do women not hold any responsibility for the men that they're choosing? Now, it's only so long that you can have a representative or that mask on, right? Are we not teaching protection until, nobody's even talking about having kids. They just fucking. Next thing you know, they pregnant. Now you understand, the next thing a woman hears is, yeah, that ain't my baby. Now you devastated. You're like, well, nigga, you the only person who I've been with. Well,
but you know what? Sometimes we also have to be mindful that what we see as children is also what we emulate as adults. So when you see toxic relationships as a child, ultimately you end up in a toxic relationship because you don't know anything different.
Now you making my point for me. We are the sum total of our experiences. So if all you as a daughter seen is mom on welfare, boyfriend after boyfriend, baby after baby, dad's not around, argue, cussing, fussing, fighting, drugs and alcohol, what is the expectation at that point? Now, let's not talk about the problems. What's the solution? again, I think my generation, for the most part, I see a lot of us are dads, right? A lot of us are in households. A lot of us are a part of our kids' lives. So at the end of the day, how is it that we bear no, well, because that's a whole generation. So I just answered my own question. But when do we hold women accountable for making better choices in men? I'll hold men accountable for being better men, putting value in education, in your potential, in hard work to put forth a better life for whatever potential family that you have. I'll put the onus on the men. When are we going to hold women accountable for dating the same type dudes all the time, ending up in the same type situation?
Unfortunately, in our culture, therapy and seeking help is frowned upon. But if you were a child that suffered trauma and you never received any treatment for that trauma, now that behavior is repressed. Unless and until we start seeking the help that we need to move forward in any kind of progressive manner, then unfortunately this is going to be our outcome.
Where do we start? Because most women will smooth act like it ain't no issue. They don't know what you're talking about. Again,
Mr. Blayla, maybe we can like chime you in.
Doc. Where you at with it, Doc?
This is very interesting. I'm just listening to both of y'all, and social media just plays.
Kiana, we in therapy. You see that? He just put us on the chair, in the chair.
Social media plays a big role into how we're moving. Like when you look at a lot of, you have women like, let's just say Megan Thee Stallion, Nicki Minaj. A lot of these women who are pushing certain narratives that I can be a boss chick, I can do it my way, I can do whatever a man does, I can take hold of my sexuality, whatever. But you can't act like a man and expect to be treated like a lady. Now, here's what I noticed to tie everything together. In our society, most of the time, I was doing the show, guys, and they had 4 other men on the show and me. And you had 2 female hostess. And they said at the end of the show, let's ask these alpha men what it takes to get a man like him. Again, these 2 ladies were putting us at the level that Kevin was talking about this to the other woman. And then the guy started, spewing out these things. And I said, okay, Dr. Blaylock, what do you have to say? I'm like, well, I don't think that I could add to this conversation because I'm not an alpha man. And they're like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're successful? You're blah, blah, blah. You're not alpha. You're definitely not beta. Like, no, I'm not beta either, but you act like there's only 2. And here's what I broke down. There's alpha, sigma, beta, omega, and gamma. Okay? I'm sigma. A sigma male is synonymous to an alpha. We're inverted alphas, right? So we've been taught, so much so that the alpha is the most desired, even so much so that you have women talk about I'm an alpha chick, knowing that they don't even have the testosterone levels required to be that. It sounds good. But what I think when it comes to dating, I usually tell a lot of my sisters, I'm like, you need to go after these betas. The beta men are the worker bee of society. No modern day society can exist without the Poindexter. It can't. Poindexter's going to get up. He's going to get a good job. He's going to go to work. He's going to pay his taxes. He's going to raise his kids. He's going to be loyal and faithful in the home. But women don't want him. He's the guy that ends up in the friend zone. Then you have the gamma male. The gamma is just clueless. He's just a silly, goofy guy that most women don't pay attention to. Then you have the omega. Most omegas are lonely, and they end up being the serial killers of the world. So the beta men are what you want, but that's not what we're taught to have. You know what I mean? And here's the rub, because it goes back to what you just asked, Shannon. You ask women, what type of man do you want? I want a good, loyal, honest, hardworking man. You ask a lot of men what you want, they might say the same thing. No, hell, that ain't what you want. You want that alpha. And the traits, there's 3 dark traits of most alphas, which is narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Women cannot resist those 3 traits. It's that Joker. It's like That dude is the alpha male with those traits are like the shopping cart with the one wobble wheel. You just can't keep that joke straight. You gonna push that mug. You gonna. That's what women want. They can say all day that's not wrong. Yes, that's what you're attracted to. But the problem with those type of men, and it's taught old school. Those are old school men. The problem with them is they're all hooked in the line. They know how to hook women over and over again, but they can't reel it in. Those men are good for short-term relationships. And another thing that we have to watch out for, Kiana, is that a lot of women say, I'm choosy, I'm picky. No, no. Men do the choosing. We're the ones who decide that we want to do relationships with you. Unless you're the type of woman to go to a man, tap him on the shoulder, ask him out, and you be willing one day to get on your knee and propose to that dude. No, men do the choosing. You might refuse or accept his holler. But y'all ain't choosing, but the illusion is I'm choosing, I'm picking. No, you just don't want the men who want you. You don't want the men who want you. So how can that be changed? Just like you said, Shannon, we have to date differently. Mom and dad meant well, but they told us that. But it's the 21st century. You try to date the 21st century, it's kind of like we're in the Ferrari age. Yeah, you can put a Model T Ford. I mean, a Model T Ford is good for car shows and weekend drives, but you better not put a Model T Ford on the highway. It wasn't built for that. What mom and dad and grandma and grandpa told us was not built for the 21st century because we live in a swipe left, swipe right. You're replaceable. I have more options available now. I don't have to act right. Grandma and grandpa, they were more involved or interested in commitment. Somewhere along the line, we got more interested in love. Love is not the same thing as commitment. It's not the same thing.
Where
If
the
I'm
applause
committed,
button? Sheesh.
At all.
Where is the applause button?
so the
I
thing
still
at the
live
end of
by
the
my
day,
grandma's words. I
you
still
got to
live
make
by
up your mind. I want to do relationship. It's not based upon this checklist that you bring to the table, what you do, what it's not emotional because emotions are gonna go up and down. I have to say, Kiana, I'm gonna be with you. We're gonna make it. And if we another thing, y'all, gosh, Kiana, if me and you start dating and we get past the first 3 or 4 months, we normally stick a pin in that place of the relationship. And I expect you on some level to remain that same way from here until Jesus comes back. Knowing that you're going to change. If you and I agree that missionary is the style for us, anybody else to do any other style besides missionary, that's to make on ahead. Well, let's just say 5 years from now, I want to try doggy style. First of all, I know how you feel about missionary. I'm going to be scared to bring it up to you. But when I do, instead of saying, you know what, Dre, well, what is it about doggy style that you like? What is it? Help me understand why you need that. We'll say, I ain't into that. That ain't what I'm into. And we dismiss our partner. That's not how to do great relationship. If you want something that I want, I got to talk to you about it because you
Exactly.
brought it. And I'm committed to being in a relationship with you. I ain't got to like it. But to say you can't try it, hell, you might try it anyway if I say no. That's where cheating comes in. And the last thing I'm going to say about cheating is the first and last thing. A lot of times people think that people cheat because it's sex. Sometimes, Kiana, when I get in a relationship with you, I become a version of myself that I might not recognize when I look in the mirror years from now. Because you done beat it out of me, I done beat it out of you to be happy. I can't do this, I better do that. So sometimes I cheat to get back to the person I was before I got to your nagging ass, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like there's two types of cheater. If I'm the narcissist cheater, it's once a cheater, always a cheater. I can't change. And you pick me. You pick that. But if I'm the compunction cheater, I cheated one time and I'll never do it again. I'm sorry, I'm remorseful. Those are part of the 31% of cheaters that can bounce back and have stronger relationships because we're dropping what our mama and dad and isms and expectations that our relationship are supposed to be, and we're building it from the ground up the way we want it.
You want to add to
I've
that?
never
Kiana?
seen a one-time cheater.
No. Have you ever been a cheater?
I've never seen a one-time cheater. If you cheat once, you typically always cheat.
Oh wow.
Well, if you cheat and you keep on doing so, because sometimes we can set up the dominoes. You can't make a person cheat, but you can show set up the dominoes and make it easier for them to want to get away from there. And you're a spiritual person, Kiana. You know that the Bible says A man would prefer to sleep on the roof of a house exposed to the elements than inside his comfortable home with a nagging woman. It can go either way, but you can do stuff to make the person not want to come back home to you. It's not that they don't want to leave, they want to leave, they still love you, but it's like, I cannot be me. I got to be the image of this man of your imagination. And most men are just not interested in being that.
Yeah. Well, I think nagging with women, that's what they call it. I mean, if you keep doing the wrong thing, nobody's congratulating that.
But you
I
can
want
get
to keep reiterating that you're doing the wrong thing.
all right, check this out. And this is free. Normally I charge for this, but check this out, y'all who are listening. There are certain things that you
Getting a
can do
big
in your
exclusive
relationship
right
to
now.
let a person away. And it's called soul word. Okay, when it comes to effective communication, only when the words that leave your mouth enter my ears are understood the way you define them, not the way I define them, the way you define them. Only then has effective communication occurred, right? So you have certain thing called soul words. Soul words are like never, always, forever. The moment you, especially when the the stakes are high in that relationship, we're having one of those crucial, critical conversations. When you start saying, "You always see this, you never," I immediately stop listening to you. It activates my defense mechanisms. And my mind is going to go into showing you why I don't always and never do whatever. Like, you're lying, because I remember I just, you can't use those words. And a lot of times it's because the emotion is there. It's kind of like, yo, emotion has a place in every relationship. It does. That's important. But I like to say there's only two types of emotions. Some feel good, some feel bad. When they feel good, it's your GPS system. It's letting you know you're probably going down the right track. When it starts to feel bad, it could be depression, it could be any of those things, you need to step back and don't look at your partner. Kiana, why are you doing this to make me feel this way? I need to say, wait a minute. Why, when she says that, did that affect me? What's my problem? What's my problem? She shouldn't have that kind of power over my life to say that and affect me this way. That's where we got to work at. We don't want to do that though. We don't want to do that. We talk from emotion.
Self-realization. Okay. I
So,
agree.
so that's pretty much it. I mean, in a
I
nutshell,
mean, y'all done got a free one from Doc. Don't say big exclusive ain't never gave you nothing, okay?
Take that and run with that.
Yeah, take that. Cause
I'm never saying always again. You always do that. Never saying that again.
Right. So my question is, there's anybody want to say any last thing on that? Because it's something that I wanted to get into, and actually, this is how Doc and I even got acquainted. Friend of ours, you guys remember T from the relationship show last week, or on the podcast at thebepodcast.com. Make sure you guys go check that out. But she hadn't made a post. She has a group called Love Life Wednesdays, which is our show, and you can catch her every Wednesday on Facebook at 8 p.m. In her group, she asked a question: why do you think people are opting to live together, have children, and not get married? You guys can imagine how heated this got. Like you can almost imagine how heated this got. And so before I answer the question, right, I wanted to hear you guys' thought on why you feel people are opting to just live together, have children, and not get married. You have any thoughts, Kiana?
I don't believe in that.
It's okay.
You're not going to get the milk and not buy the cow. No, I mean, I was previously married for 13 years and we were together for 21. I don't believe in shacking up. No, if I'm taking care of the home, I'm going to be married.
Okay. Okay, that's your. But why do you think people are okay with doing that nowadays?
Society, people don't believe in commitment anymore. There's no commitment. Everybody does what they want to do. I mean, obviously we have swingers clubs and side people and jumbos. And there has been a lack of commitment. I mean, obviously our grandparents are around anymore. So all that education is missing. And then if you have parents that are not committed, have never been married, where are you supposed to learn that from? The foundation starts at home. So if children see mom and dad together in unity, doing family things, then they will seek out those very things. I have 5 children. So my oldest 2 have not been in that only 2 different relationships. And they are more into long term because that's what they saw. That's how they were raised. So marriage and relationship is important to them because that's what they saw. If you teach your children and you show them you're going out every night and you have multiple partners, that's going to be what you raise. Your children are what they see.
So what are your thoughts on, all right, so I'm gonna say this, and then Doc, we're gonna come circle around back to you. Me personally, I think the idea of marriage as the way is constructed now with those vows that they've been saying for the last however many years is just an antiquated idea. I think it's outdated. I think it's old. I think it doesn't work. And I try to look at things from an extremely logical perspective, right? For me, I think I'm a businessman. I know if I do something and it doesn't work more than 50%, let's say for argument's sake, just the stats aren't right. But if I see some stuff isn't working 40% of the time, and it's costing me 10, 20, 30, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. As a businessman, why continue to do that thing? It doesn't work. There's no return on investment. Both parties unanimously loses. So,
But when you
some
lose money
feel like
in
they've
your
gained.
business, do you quit when you lose money in your business? When something doesn't go right at work, do you quit?
Hell yeah.
We too quick to quit.
Listen, that the idea of marriage in our Western civilization has been around for I don't know how long, and we're coming into a time where it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. It's not a matter of so let me ask you this, Kiana. You was married, right?
Yes.
So clearly there was a deal breaker, right?
Of course.
Again, are you engaged now?
No.
You dating?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, are you dating with the intent to marry?
Yes.
Yep. Yes, she is. I can answer that already.
That's insanity. That is
I don't
insane.
think just because the first one didn't work out. We were 17 when we first met, and what I wanted at 17, I did not want at 35.
And that goes back to, something Doc said. But my question to you is, what examples do you have where you've seen those vows and marriages work?
My mom and my dad, my grandparents,
Mom and
my
dad
family
never cheated
as a
on
whole.
each other?
Mhm. My mom and my dad was married for 26 years. So that's what me and my siblings knew. And that was my mom's first, and that was her only.
Yeah, what kind of problems did they have?
Within my mom and my dad's marriage?
Yeah. Did they have any issues? Or it was just like regular everyday stuff, like somebody ate all the cereal? Mama
No, my
spent too
dad,
much money on shoes.
my dad had fidelity issues.
All right, what about your grandparents?
And cocaine issues. I'm sorry?
What about your grandparents?
They divorced after a long time and 10 children. But even when they divorced, we were still, there was no boyfriends in the home. There was no uncle such and such, or there was no men within the home. There was none. Once the marriages was over, the men were over. If they were, my mom still has not, my dad is gone now, but my mom still has not been with anyone since my dad. And my grandmom, she's going now too, but there was no other men. There was, okay, when the marriage ends, you pick up and you continue to provide for your home.
So if so, your intent is to get married,
Yes.
stay married, die married. What happened?
Um, Fidelity issues.
So
Well, it
your
was
vows
not one
say
time.
for better
It
or
was
for
not one
worse.
time. It
So
was multiple.
so your vows say for better or for worse, sickness and health, to death do
You
us part.
know,
Know what?
you know, my quality was not really trying to deal with that anymore.
See, it's an
No,
antiquated idea.
I
Marriage does not
just-
work.
I
You have
can't-
not seen
can't
an
do it.
example of a successful marriage. You just said your parents had fidelity issues. Grandpa
Yeah.
and grandma divorced. There had to be a reason. Marriage just doesn't work. Why do people want to run to do this thing that they see clearly does not work?
Because it
If
doesn't mean it didn't work for them.
it
They
hasn't,
didn't cancel it out for me.
again, have you ever seen? Don't give me no TV couple, Claire and Huxtables. Have you seen an example in your proximity where a marriage has worked?
Yes.
Where there wasn't no cheating, them people lived married as a couple, died married as a couple.
Yeah, they're still together now after like almost 30-something odd years of marriage.
So let me read some comments. Aisha, my sister, said marriage does work if you want it to work. You can want it to work all you want, but
I agree, Aisha.
Aisha, you need to stop. You don't agree. You wanted your marriage to work. It didn't work. Your parents wanted my parents, my cousins, like
Never give up. Never give up.
yeah, you gave up. So you can't
When
say
all
that.
else fails, you try again.
You don't.
You do.
Let's read
That was just
some
that
of
one person. That's not everybody. But you know what? I can say I was young when we got married. We were like 23. So there's a lot of things that I didn't know that I know now at 35. So I'm sure if I would have implied those things within my marriage, maybe things would have turned out differently. But it didn't.
they won't, and I'm
that's
sorry
not
to I'm sorry to tell you the next one not going.
Yes,
All
it
right. Here's how it can work. People hate when I say that. People like, yo, you so cynical. But I'm gonna tell you. As a matter of fact, Doc, let's bring you in before I say anything else and put a bigger foot in my mouth. The question was, why are people opting to live together and have children but not get married?
Well, back in the day, we were taught that marriage is the pinnacle of success in a relationship. It's where you went. That's the mountaintop experience. But we're realizing that is not from a male's perspective. Divorce and the court system is not kind to me as it is to women. It's just not. It's not in a man's best interest to get married.
or a woman.
Well, I'm saying it's like at the end of the day, but when you go to court, for the most part, you're not going to be subjected to the same scrutiny as a
I was
man.
subjective. That's not accurate.
We can't say all the time, but I'm not going to use words like all, but we can say the majority of the time. There's not equality when it comes to the court system, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to child support. So men are like this these days. If I can get companionship on a consistent level with pretty frequent access to sexual activity, I'm good. Me marrying you is not going to somehow prove to you that I love you more, and it's not going to guarantee that we're going to stay together. What it can do, if you're not careful, is lock me up in this financial arrangement that makes it hard as hell for me to get out. And a woman, sometimes when she's scorned, good God Almighty, it's like a woman who's scorned will just make you stop just because she can. And you laughing because you know it's real. Men don't have that level of vindictiveness that a woman do for the most part. For the most part, we don't. Because it's like, I leave you and I just give me another chick. I'm over you. I can get over you quickly. For a lot of what?
I didn't
Because
get that experience.
well, I ain't saying that they're not outliers, but here's
I
what I
was on
suggest.
support. I was
Somebody,
on child support. I was on the other end. I was on the male end of the stick.
I'm saying it works. And if a lot of women were on their receiving end, they'll just kind of draw that notion, right? And quit some of this stuff. But what I'm saying is this. If you approach the situation that is working, what Shannon, I believe he's saying is, there's too much evidence in our own personal life that we've observed, that we've experienced to show, you know what, the way I was taught this thing is supposed to work, the happily ever after, that he's never going to cheat, she's never going to cheat. Okay, that's probably not reality. But when it happens, now what?
Facts is not.
You gotta practice. You gotta practice how you gonna stay. It's easy
Positive
to leave,
planner.
but you gotta practice how you gonna stay. And back in the day, they didn't leave. Grandma knew that grandpa had a whole other family on the other side of town. But what do they say back then? You better not let that husband break up your marriage. They stayed. They stayed. And I'm not saying it's the
Not
best.
staying today.
I ain't saying that it's the best thing, but they did. So we don't want. We want to treat relationships like a buffet table. Oh, I want this out of
Yeah.
equality. I want that. I want this. I don't want this. But it's a cake. You can't take the eggs out the darn cake after it's mixed and baked. You can't
You
do
can
it.
eat the icing off of it and not eat the cake, though.
We talk. I
That's
understand that, but who
sadistic.
wants that? So
Who
I know
does
I
that?
know you can't do it, but here's the real deal. Here's what I would suggest. I'm like, okay, in almost every situation, there is a compromise to be made. There's a point of consensus. That doesn't mean that you're going to be quite happy, but why can't if I say, Kiana, we've been working, I really love you. We got a great thing going on right now. Suppose we have a wedding without the marriage. Suppose we have a ceremony. We can invite our friends, our family. We can have a wedding. We could commit ourselves to each other. We can write that date in the Bible, and we could stay committed to that particular thing without going down to the court and getting this marriage license. That is going to create issues for me later on. It's just kind of like, okay, that's a compromise. Well, I don't want that. I don't feel married. A lot of people, Shannon, who still want this, a lot of times it's for religious reasons, for faith reasons. Well, I believe that I can't be this and God's outside without being married. But it's like, what is marriage going to do differently if I'm committed, if I'm faithful, blah, blah, blah? Me going down there is not going to change it. Most men are just scared of the legal repercussions of the divorce. Not saying you don't want it to happen, but how many people go into marriage thinking, all of us go into marriage thinking we're going to be the couple that divides their heart until we don't, until we don't. That's not putting a negative spin on it, but like you said, some of the vows that people said those days, it's just a hard time working in today's society. I think maybe we should look at it differently and maybe adopt a practice that was adopted in another country. This woman said there is a such thing called the 7-year itch. Normally, after about 4 years, you get the itch, you get the scratch. Normally, after 7, you're gonna give it up. You ain't gonna stay after 7. But this woman proposed. Suppose every 7 years we come to the table and we look at this arrangement. Are you happy? What's this business proposition looking like? Can we change? Is it worth staying in? If it's not, we can both leave without causing each other all this devastation financially and emotionally. But we don't want to do that because we believe in the fairy tale of happy ever after, and that just is not what we do.
Let me read a couple comments, and then I'll add something. Teresa says, I'm 20 days away from my 22nd wedding anniversary. Congrats to you in 20 days. And don't get me wrong. People think I don't love love. I do love love, right? You just don't need that piece of paper to validate that love. It reminds me of the people who need to be posted on Facebook and Twitter to prove that you're in a relationship. If it ain't broke, piece of paper ain't going to fix it or make it better, in my opinion. And that I've never, and again, I'm the sum total of my experiences. I've never seen a marriage work to the letter of any vow whatsoever, all right? Teresa says, I'm 20 days away from my 22nd wedding anniversary, but we decided not to throw away our marriage if something cracked or broke. We fix what needs to be fixed. People are too quick to break up a marriage over something that's completely fixable. That's cool. That's romantic. But everyone has deal breakers. And her husband hasn't broken one of the deals yet. If it happens, it's over. It's not fixable. So
22 years and no more deals. Nobody's breaking any deals.
Okay. All right. Aisha said a lot of these men act like females. Dawn said it ain't ready for that conversation. Y'all want to come back and have that conversation one day?
Let's do it. Dr. Blaylock?
Sha said that X chromosome be shining bright. Dawn said, no, I needs benefits, including death benefits. Aisha says, when you married today, she trying to kill a motherfucker from the rip. Like, I don't give a fuck nothing about you, you little
Want her
dirty,
just
rotten
do.
nigga. Just die so I can get that chicken. Aisha said, when you married today, us women have to have a family on the opposite side of town too, and everybody can be happy. Ooh. Chanel Young said, Kiana. That's I guess that's family. Um, Teresa said, if you go into marriage thinking of divorce, then you should not be getting married. Facts. Dawn said, you can make your own vows. You ain't living by them still. It's always amazing to me that people have all the perfect marriage advice, but they marriage don't ever work. It don't be lasting.
Well, you know,
It don't
Janet,
be good.
women, we typically live by our vows. I just wanted to throw that out there,
Oh
just in case anybody didn't know.
no, women just as guilty. They cheat just as much. They lie. It's 50-50. It's a coin flip. I promise you, it's a coin flip. Kyle Akbar said, people where I am from defied the odds just by staying out of jail and out of the grave. So why would I take a pessimistic out to marriage when I have already defied those odds? Oh, wait. Let me reread that because he actually meant to say outlook. He just sent the update. I have been in an 18-year marriage, and these rocks is heavy right now. So Kyle said, people where I'm from defy the odds just by staying out of jail. Chanel, I'm about to come to you in 1 second. People where I'm from defy the odds by staying out of jail and out of the grave. So why would I take a pessimistic outlook to marriage when I have already defied those odds? My man Kyle, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I say good luck with that, brother. Chanel Young says, you need to make sure you are happy before getting married. Seek help to be the best you first. If you're not right for you, you can't be right for anyone else. I kind of led the show off by saying that, and I agree with Chanel wholeheartedly. And even with that being said, I'm still not getting married.
Missing the best times of your life.
Shit, you a lying the truth ain't in you. Marriage is not marriage is not a 50-50, it's 100-100, and it works. And she said it is work. Stop making me laugh.
That's a Southern comment.
Oh yeah. I got roots in North Carolina, South Carolina.
Oh, do I?
Oh, yeah, you might be Cutting Pete. Cutting Pete. I knew it was a reason. What's up, cousin? Teresa, come back. This is the last comment before we going to get into the last and final topic. Marriage is not 50-50. It is 100-100, and it is work. If you aren't willing to work, don't get married. You have to work on the marriage every damn day. Mm-hmm. Chanel, you ain't married. Like,
she in preparation. Okay.
Oh, well, congratulations to her and her engagement.
Dating happily.
Oh, well, yeah, congratulations. Yeah, please don't misunderstand me, okay? I love. I love being in love. I want to be in love. I want all of those feelings that come along with finding someone.
He's a little marriage Scrooge.
Fuck that ring, that chapel, them doves, all that limos, all that. You can keep all of that. If I ever do it,
Mr. Blaylock, are you opposed to marriage as well?
No, I'm not opposed to marriage. I just kind of think Usher has a great song on the charts right now. I love love. I'm just freaking bad at it. I can't escape all these bad habits. It's like this, yo. I mean, again, when if I'm looking at you, Kiana, I'm not looking at you as you are. I'm looking at you how I perceive you. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like you are a history book. Most of us don't take time to read the darn lesson. Just because you get with me don't mean that it's going to change. Normally, it's the little bitty stuff. I often say when we get together and we brush our teeth, I might spit in the sink and leave the water running. You might spit in the cup. That's fine while we're single. But as soon as we get together, the first thing I say, why you leave all the water? Why you wasting that water? Why you spitting in the sink? opposites attract until they start attacking. You know what I'm saying? But it's just kind of like sit back long enough to see the person's habits and patterns, and then be like, if this does not change, can I hook my caboose up to this locomotive and do life? Because there's going to be some things that you like doing that I don't like doing. It may be with female friends, it might be with male friends. Most of us these days are like, oh, you can't have no male friends, you can't have one of the opposite sex. I'm like, no, I know that I will not be 100% of everything you want to need. I have enough sense to realize that. The problem comes in, let's just say I'm 80% of what you want. That 20% is still valid, especially if you're a healthy person. You were 100% before you came to me, like some of the people said in the comments. Now you get with me, you got to be 80%. No, that 20% is valid. What am I going to do to let you still express the 20%? We don't want to have those kind of discussions. We do not want to have it. We want what we want at the detriment of something better.
Would you be able to communicate how you can get better on that 20%?
Well, I mean, if the person, like for instance, I'm gonna just use this. Is this an adult show? Shannon, can I kind of talk?
Absolutely, yes.
With most black women, there are two things that most black women are gonna say. I dare say three: sexually, you ain't getting no butt loving, I ain't swallowing your semen, and we ain't doing no threesomes. Okay, those are the three no's that most black women say. But let's just say,
I won't say myself. I won't say myself. Just to put that out there.
well, don't put your big freak on self, your big freaky self on blast. But I'm just saying, suppose those are things that most black women say they're not going to do, and those are things they say they're not going to do. But let's just say one day I want one of those things. Is that on the table? Or is on the table with your judgment? I ain't into this, I'll never do this, and if you want to do it, you can't have it anymore. Because I know I can't have those real conversations, I'm going to hide, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to pretend, I'm going to do all those other things that violate the vows, because I can't be real with you. And the thing about lying, when I was writing the book Cheat Proof, a dude will lie to his main chick because he loves her. He don't want to lose her. He don't want to lose a relationship. He just wants something that you keep saying no to a lot of times. And that's where the side chick comes into play. But do I believe in marriage? I do believe in marriage, but I also believe in human nature, just being real. Let a person be real. Sometimes, Shannon, I do things, I'm like, I can't believe the hell I did that. I surprise my own self sometimes. You mean if I can do that to myself, I can't expect Keanu to do that one day? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be the same depending upon the circumstances. You make the right decision during that time. You might regret it later on, but we don't want the person to be human. We want what we want. So I'm not talking about an abusive relationship. I'm just talking about sometimes we're going to mess up. Can we have those real conversations to make our love move forward?
Hey, Doc, I need you to repeat those three things. No, I'm serious. A lot of people in the chat are like, "Yo, I missed one, or I didn't hear them, or yeah." What was the three things?
Commitment, consistency, and access to regular sex. Those three things. If you have those things, okay, that's companionship. I have companionship with you, Kiana. We're doing our thing, and we're doing it on a consistent basis. It's working. That's why we're still here. And we get our groove on, and the groove is the sex good. Why is that? I mean, why are you gonna mess it up? And I'm gonna tell you now, Shannon, I might get booed off the stage. But women, I'm gonna tell you two things that most men that you should know about most men.
I'm gonna cut you off.
Number one, most men cannot definitively tell you what direction the relationship is going in. We have no damn idea. It's working right now. We've mastered 0 to 6, and 0 to 6 will work on most women. When you say, where are we going? What are your goals? What are your plans? You asking us to kick into 7, 8. Now we have no damn clue what's 7, 8. That's reality. And the other thing is, men don't value love as much as women do. We do not, we don't value love like we value respect. Respect me. Be agreeable. Let's be able to work with.
Say that again. Say that again.
Hit that men do not value love like women do. Y'all, we don't. Y'all great men based upon you should send me flowers. You should know to do these things. No, that is not most men. That's why you're not getting that from most men. Those are the men of your imagination. Those are the men of Hollywood. But that's not most men. And I'm just saying, if you want to do relationships like that, you gotta want to make it work, but you gotta not make it work. It should work. Period. There's going to be ups and downs, but if you choose right and we really deal with reality, we can have success relationships. There's no shortage of great people out there. It might not be the height that you want, or the weight that you want, or the income level, but there are great people out here that you can have successful relationships with. But what tradition tells us, there's the one. I wait for the one, my true love. There's many the ones out there. You just not agreeable. Nobody can stay with that age. That's why you ain't got nobody. You get them and you run them away. That's what the deal is. And that goes for male or female. It's like it's not in the getting, it's in the keeping. Be keepable. Be keepable. If you're a person that can easily dismiss someone, you're easily dismissed. You're going to attract people that will easily dismiss you too. And that's what social media is doing to us.
Well, I'm not going to solely put it on social media. I did realize during this show and having this conversation, I'm kind of a curmudgeon. I just some things, man. I just realized that what I am aware of is just some things just aren't for me. And what I don't want people to misunderstand is just because I don't want to be married doesn't mean I don't want to be in a happy, healthy, loving, relationship. Doesn't mean that. It just means that if I find that, I want to be able to maintain that and keep that and not alter it by having some piece of paper say that, together forever, and then before God, I'm not going to cheat, and whatever vows that you would end up writing. It's just not.
That's a conversation you and that person would have to have in the beginning.
Right. But here's the thing. Doc and I talked behind the scenes a little bit before the show. And he did say something very important, and that kind of stuck with me. He said, you can have whatever type of relationship and or marriage you want. You guys just have to be able to define what that is.
Exactly.
And then you add the caveat to that you have to understand that people grow, mature, evolve into different needs and different wants, and you are agreeing to grow and evolve with them. And I need people to stop having this thing about, well, if we married, I can get benefits. There are ways for you to get the benefits without, let's stop it, please.
Thank you.
Y'all just be saying anything just because, and I'm gonna say it, it's mostly women. Y'all just be saying anything to get that ring and say you walk that out. And a lot of times, I gotta say, y'all know who y'all marrying and y'all do it anyway. And you think for 1 second that I'm looking forward to that? I'm not. I'll leave the door cracked open, and this is what I'll say. If I ever find that person that makes me want to get married, we won't have no wedding in no church, and it won't be this big blown out reception. I'm not doing none of that.
I'm not interested in that.
I'm not doing none of that. I'm going to hit you with a rock. You're going to hit me with one, and we're going to sign the paper down City Hall, and we married.
Okay. Marriage is between two people.
That's
500 people don't really matter to me. They're not going to help in the marriage. I can't call them. I'm not interested.
Listen, and I'm going to tell you like this. I ain't got no marriage advice. I ain't got no relationship advice. I ain't got none of that. I'm going off into my cave after I hit you with that rock. We leaving the phones at the cave entrance, and we just going to live our life. The rest of that, I think sometimes we miss a lot of opportunities by being distracted and not being present in the moment with our partners. And I think, that's a huge thing. But that's for another show. Doc, you wanted to say something before we wrap up?
I want to say one more thing. Hopefully this will help somebody out there too. Ladies and men, and since most of my audience are women, I'm going to put it out there like this. There are 3 types of relationships. Okay.
Oh, shit.
The mind in search of a relationship is connection. The heart in search of a relationship is love, and the body in search of a relationship is sex. Sometimes a lot of women want to show up connection, we fall in love, then we have sex, either before or after we get married. But it might not show up that way. Sometimes you got to have a level of clarity. It's okay. You cannot do a relationship without being involved. But a lot of times people there's a sense of belonging. When you start belonging, if you belong to a church or a social organization, you're going to start to take on the prejudices and stuff of whatever it is that you belong to. But if you are involved, you can do that. But my mania is not going to rub off on you. If I'm involved in relationships and you start going sideways, you can't hang out with Shannon because Shannon likes to listen to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, baby, I'm sorry, but me and Shannon kind of hanging out. Why don't you like that? That don't mean I got to stop and change my life, but we got to be clear. Some of us have entered into relationships with men and women. It's just supposed to stop at the body. It was just the bomb set. But you mess around and you fell in love with the penis, you got dickmatized or you got coochie whipped. You were never supposed to be in that relationship like that. Some of us have tried to have sex with people that we were just connected to. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but there are three types. You got to do this thing with clarity and just realize where you are really before you move forward. If it's sexual, it's got to be sex. Don't try to move forward because it's not going to end up well if you misappropriate those three relationships.
I agree.
Let's see. Let's get this show wrapped up. I can't thank you guys enough for being here. Before you go, Doc, I need you to tell people where they can get the book, follow you, any other information that you have out there. But before you do that, I do this to, all my guests. Will you come back?
I would love to come back. Absolutely.
My man. Tell them how they can go buy the book. Make sure you guys go purchase the book. I'm going to add his website to thebepodcast.com. So if you need the book, you can go to my website. It'll be up tomorrow evening.
Okay. I'm pretty easy, guys. I mean, the name of my website is andreblaylock.com. That's spelled Blaylock with a Y. I'm on Instagram as Dr._Andre Blaylock. And you can find everything that I'm about pretty much on the website. You can purchase the hot sauces there. You can purchase the books there. And I welcome feedback. I mean, because at the end of the day, effective communication is what's going to be needed to drive these relationships forward. And if I can help you, I'm more than willing to do so. And thank you, Shannon, for allowing me this opportunity.
I definitely appreciate it and look forward to you coming back. Kiana, you okay?
Great.
Did we take care of our sister tonight?
We did.
Did we protect you tonight?
Yeah.
Was the dialogue good?
Thank you. It was awesome. It was so great.
Will you come back?
I most definitely will. I'm so excited about that.
Solid. I appreciate that. How can people keep up with Kiana and follow your journey while you looking for your new husband? And all these people who listening want invites to the wedding, okay?
I'll keep you posted on that. But I'm on Instagram, Kiana.c5. And I have too many Facebook friends right now. I can't accept anymore.
Oh, you Hollywood. They can still follow you, though. So if they want to follow you, like they can still follow you. You just can't get the...
Kiana Carrington on Facebook.
All right. With that being said, my last parting shot for the evening is we all must remember to take the time out to just be grateful for another day on earth. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in our business that we forget to stop and smell the roses and be appreciative of the things and the people and the nature and the love that people give us every day. Stop taking that love for granted. If you fortunate enough to wake up tomorrow and you got something going on, whether it's a grudge, or argument, or whatever, you hear the cliche, but I can't tell you how real it is. Life too short to hold that shit. If you miss somebody, tell them you miss them. If you love somebody, tell them you love them. If you want to marry somebody, just tell them you want to marry them, okay? Whatever the case may be, let's not go to bed tonight or let's not, go into the next day and with any grudges, any hate, or any negative disposition on your heart. Let's just be mindful that death is for eternity. We get a short time here on earth. Let's learn how to live together a little better, love a little harder, laugh a whole lot more. All right. That's the last thing I'm gonna say before I get out of here. I want to give a special thanks out to Kiana and Dr. Andre Blaylock. I look forward to having you guys on the show. It may not be about the same topic, but I'm sure you guys are so knowledgeable on a plethora of things. I'm sure it'll be a very enjoyable conversation no matter what we decide to do it on. I'm looking forward to having you guys back. Special shout out to Critical Shot Studio and all the work they do to make this podcast run. Special thank to Mike and Shred Fit Media Hub for having such a beautiful space and allowing me to come in here and desecrate it, basically. Shout out to everybody who tuned into this podcast. If you commented, on the show, I appreciate you guys. Again, join me next week, next Tuesday, 6 to 8. I'm not sure what that show will be about. Hopefully the people I have scheduled, show up and we can have some fun and talk about some more stuff. If not, I'm gonna call Kiana and Doc back, and they gonna double back. They gonna double that. Now that's cool because nobody's ever done back to back so far. So we'll see. But I had a great time tonight. I hope you did. If you watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you're locked in on Facebook, hit the share button. Please share the information, share the content. Dr. Boyce dropped some stuff that he normally charged a shit ton of money for. But because, it's big exclusive, he gave me the big exclusive and dropped some gems. So make sure, you share. Hit his website if you need more information, if you need more help. I'm going to get me some hot sauce, all right? And Kiana, I look forward to talking to you. Good luck on your search, and just continue being a great mom. Continue educating all the sisters in and around you and in your proximity. Make sure you each one teach one, pass that knowledge along. Let them know how they can get $100,000 so they ain't impressed by that 40 that dude got. All right. And again, I'm raising 2 daughters, so I'm counting on women like you to pay it forward. I don't have any more shout outs. I'm tired. I'm thirsty. I want to go. I want to chill the rest of the night. I want to go tell my kids I love them. Kayla, Cameron, I love you. I'm out.